Yeah, we try not to do only market data because I think that if they're in the mode to buy or sell, they care. But what about those 7 years in between on average people move? Well, I think it's even 5 years now, but still, how do I say relevant in their life for the next 5 years before they buy or sell so that they reach out to me when it's time? And so for us, it's, on our consumer stuff, it's very localized. Here, yes, there maybe it's a little bit of real estate.
For a treat today, and we are live on the Facebook in the LabCoatAgents. Welcome, LabCoatAgents. This is a new one. We are going to be talking about things that many of you probably have yet to really embrace and even take seriously. And so LabCoats has put together a team of some brilliant minds who are working behind the scenes to be bringing these things, these items we call, the blockchain, the NFTs, crypto, all of these things that are going to be related back to real estate. People are going to start buying homes in the blockchain. I am the furthest person to try to explain this to you, which is why I am just going to be here to kind of steer the conversation down a certain path. I want to explain one thing real quick before I introduce the crew. I was just telling them offline that as I have gone out speaking, and I'm speaking at real estate conferences talking about the future of real estate. This is a lot of what Tristan and I have been asked to speak about. And obviously for us, it ties back to these things right behind me because that's our specialty, which is building a brand through authenticity, social media. But one of the things I describe to every audience is this: within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to have a buyer come to you that says, I saw your listing while I was wearing my Oculus in the virtual world, doing a walkthrough in virtual reality. They're going to say, I want to buy said house with my cryptocurrency. Therefore, it has to go through the blockchain. Then, in order to earn that business, not only are you going to have to be educated, but you're also they're going to want you to be a hologram in their living room through augmented reality, giving your listing or buyer's presentation, because they don't want to meet you in person, because that's the world that we are now heading towards, whether you like it or not. With that said, let me introduce the Consortia team. We've got Teresa Grobecker, Anthony, Sheila, Jeremy, Kevin. Guys, welcome to LabCoatAgents. This is going to be an ongoing webinar, first of all, for those of you joining us today. So this is going to be monthly. And we are going to help educate the real estate world on all of these things and the things you need to know about and how you can stay out of jail, because this is a very important conversation. But first things first, let's do some introductions. Teresa, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll let each team member introduce themselves, and then let's get on to some education.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, LCA community. My name is Teresa Grobecker. I'm the CEO and founder of Consortia. I am a practitioner. I am a practicing broker and mortgage loan originator. I started the first online real estate brokerage in San Francisco a decade ago, before COVID was cool. And then along the way, I filed for the patent for anything that deals with blockchain, real estate, and non-fungible tokens, NFTs. And I did that in 2018 as an offensive move against China and Russia, because they're a little bit more advanced than us in AI and blockchain technology. Never intended for that to become a company at all. Bob Goldberg, the CEO of NAR, said, "You're ours." And I was like, that's cool. It was a gift for the industry anyway. So I went through the NAR Second Century Ventures Reach Accelerator program in 2019. I now run 3 NAR portfolio companies, and this is one of them. And I'm so lucky to have my team here with me today. I will pass the baton off to Sheila.
Hi, everybody. We're so excited to be here. I'm Sheila Faison. I'm the COO of Consortia, and have been diving into the crypto and blockchain worlds, 10 to 12 hours a day, studying nonstop, because I saw the world shifting and I saw what was coming with Web 3.0. And am very grateful and blessed to be in partnership with Teresa to bring this to our industry, to not only protect our industry and all of you as agents and practitioners, but to do the right thing by the consumer and really be able to bring the entire real estate industry onto the blockchain.
Who are you passing to next, Sheila?
To Kevin.
All right, thanks, Sheila. Kevin Cottrell, I am a longtime practitioner. I've done about 2,500 closed transactions in my career, got licensed in the 80s. So I've been through lots of ups and downs, but I come from Silicon Valley, so I have kind of a bent for technology and all things tech as it relates to real estate. I am the Chief Strategy Officer for Consortia. I also spend a lot of time talking with the team and Teresa about the specific topics around fractionalization or tokenization of real estate, which is definitely going to be a big thing along with everything else you're going to hear about today.
Love it. How about Anthony? You're unmuted.
Hey guys, Anthony Gazette. Been in real estate for almost 18 years. Ran high performing sales. And one big thing I've dove into over the course of the last 6, 7, 8 years is blockchain and crypto technologies. And super excited to bring this to the real estate space, man, with the background and all the expertise I've had in both of those. Guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And was it just me or did Anthony kind of pause for a second or freeze? Okay. Just making sure it wasn't my end. Okay. No worries. It was good. I got enough. And then last but not least, the man, the reason we're here, Jeremy's in my market. So I know him and he reached out to me and here we are. Jeremy, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us on LCA, Jeff. My name is Jeremy Swires. I'm the CTO of Consortia. I've been in tech pretty much all my life for about 20 years. I've been studying blockchain for about 7, 8 years now. And I'm working to basically build the API integrations between all of the institution and Consortia and trying to automate the NFT process. And my wife's been in real estate for about 7 years, so I'm very familiar with the real estate market as well. I'm not as familiar as real estate agents, but I still have a lot to learn, I feel. But here we are. We're converting real estate onto blockchain. I'm excited.
I love it. So thank you guys for being here. There's a lot of C's and there's a lot of O's in your titles, and we just change out the middle initial, I guess, for all of you. I like it. Nobody introduced themselves as janitor, so I will take that role happily. So let's start here, and I don't care who wants to answer. Teresa, I'll let you kind of be the ringleader of answering my primitive questions, but let's start with the most basics. You know, so I'm going to assume that most of the real estate world, really just humankind in general, you know, I'll tell you how I think about it. When I think of blockchain, I think of cryptocurrency. But when I think of cryptocurrency, I think of Bitcoin. I think of investments. I think of Doge. I think of Ethereum, right? When I think of NFTs, I think of what I watch Gary Vee talk about, which is artwork, right? So can any of you help explain, understand how this is going to apply and tie together back to real estate? And the one thing I will say is, from what I understand, NFTs are going to be the future of like social security numbers, and everything from us as humans to your house, your car, everything you own will have an NFT number tied to it. Can you help tie that together and how this is going to apply and pull into real estate?
Yeah, so I'll take this and then the team can supplement where I get too nerdy. I've been accused of that. Like people are like, stop talking nerd. And somebody else is like, this is human speak. And then they're like, okay, permission to go. So let's start with the basics. Blockchain is a spreadsheet. That's all it is. It is a spreadsheet.
There is like an Excel spreadsheet.
Exactly. Or Google Sheets. Like it is way too sexified. There's way too much window dressing around what it is. So we've all used a spreadsheet. We're business people, right? And I might create a spreadsheet, something like my family budget, and I share it with my spouse. And that's a permissions based. Sometimes I'm like going to let him write in my spreadsheet, or other times I'm going to be like, this is what it is, right? We've all shared that with members of our team. You have view only, or you can write into my spreadsheet. So that's what blockchain is. It's an immutable spreadsheet. That's the only difference. You put something in, you can't change it. It's locked in. So it's a record of what's happened. So let's think about then real estate. something happened in a transaction. It gets a timestamp and there's a description. Maybe there's a dollar amount. So we're just recording events that happen either in a real estate transaction or in the history of a house. So the reason why I created Consortia is this is my second blockchain company. In the first one that we started around 2013, it was a derivatives product to deleverage what we had just gone through. And I had to read all of Dodd-Frank. And there was one little line in Dodd-Frank that says that every lender or bank has to have a ledger for every asset or property they own. I was like, oh, that's simple. It's blockchain. So that's all we're going for here, is to satisfy Dodd-Frank. It's the law that there has to be a ledger. And this is just a ledger for each piece of property. So to the second part of your question, and I'll just share screen here. I think pictures are really helpful. So I've been told, especially when I'm deep into nerd speak, is this is what we think of as non-fungible tokens. This happened in video gaming. And my uncle is the top future speaker in the world. And he says that innovation happens along the fringes, especially in illicit activity. And then once you get more mainstream, it's like gaming and then it's art, right? So this is actually an example that Jeremy created for the team. And it's that non-fungible tokens started in video gaming and then it went to art. So this is Bored Ape Monkey. Usually he's smoking a joint, right? And then this is the grown-up version of not the monkey smoking the joint, but this is a non-fungible token of a house. This is real. This is not wireframe. This is now. So we're expressing data about the house by creating a non-fungible token that's recorded on blockchain. And this is what a whole bunch of them look like. So we have records about the house. We can identify them by the time that something happened. There's a unique identifier. So I'll put a pin in nerd speak and I'll let the team jump in as far as, or Jeff to carry the conversation.
Anybody have anything to add? If not, to break this down into real terms, current terms, like this is very similar, or is it going to replace how a home is titled essentially?
I love this question. Okay, so title for a house, true ownership is recorded at the county recorder's office. So this is merely a spreadsheet, right? This is a tool for record keeping. And right now there are no counties. There's not one in the United States that is recording to blockchain. Eventually, absolutely. I think that every county is either going to have their own blockchain or they're going to be recording to this because it's just already built or some kind of institutional level. But right now, ownership is only recorded at your county recorder's office. The other question that we get a lot of is title. Do I need title insurance still if something is recorded to blockchain? Well, again, let's go back to the fundamentals. Blockchain is a spreadsheet. If there is a claim on title, I would not file an insurance claim on a Google spreadsheet, right? Like I need an insurance product to back that kind of a claim. So these are completely different terms. And I think too much of it gets conflated and like, we're just going to throw it all into the kitchen sink here. But they're definitely different use cases for recording and then title and blockchain.
So let's digress for just a second as we get down this path of these explanations. And it was one of you, I think it was Jeremy, who when you first started talking was saying that the prediction is that X percentage of real estate will start to be transacted within the blockchain in X number of years. Does anybody want to share what those stats look like? Because I think that brings reality into this a little bit. I don't know if that was you, Jeremy. You want to chime in? Anybody can chime in. Any of you can chime in at any time. Just raise your hand or.
Yeah, so the prediction, and I think Teresa was actually the one that's talking on this. It's in the next 3 to 5 years, conservatively, 50% of the real estate market is going to be transacting using digital currencies. Right now, I think we're all waiting for Fannie and Freddie to say it's okay to transfer homes using cryptocurrency. Right now, with like the good funds law, we're still having to do it with fiat currency. So not a lot has changed as far as the traditional real estate transaction. You can still use your crypto wallets as proof of funds, but at the end of the day, before the close happens, it all has to get converted to USD. But, I think over the next few years, we're going to see a portion of the market shift for sure.
50% though, that's a bold number. And so what has to change in that 2 or 3 to 5 years in order for that to start happening? Homes have to be converted to NFT. What has to happen? Because I think that's bold. And actually, let me also say this. So that's one question. The other question is this. We're looking at the market as it stands today and saying all of those millionaires off of crypto are now broke because, obviously not just the stock market, but the crypto market has tanked like everything. So how is someone to believe that based on what's happening, assuming you held on to your shares where, everything is just literally in the trash?
So
Yeah,
Jeff, if you,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sheila.
if you don't mind me jumping in, I'd like to kind of dial it back a little bit because we're getting ahead in the conversation, especially if you feel like most of the community is new and have no clue what they're talking about. So let's just start at the beginning. Like Teresa talked about, blockchain is a spreadsheet. Let's do it even simpler. When in the old days, right, before the internet, we had the phone, right? And then when the internet came out, what changed the world? The iPhone, right? And then you think about from the iPhone, we're going to go to whatever the earbuds or the augmented on your arm or some crazy thing. But the thing that people need to think about when they think blockchain is the evolution of technology, the revolution of technology. So when the internet started, we all agreed that the internet changed the world. The internet was Web 1.0. When you came out with the internet, then all these other use cases happened that are built on the internet, i.e. Amazon. Amazon couldn't happen if you didn't have the platform, the plumbing, Web 1.0. So blockchain is Web 3.0. It isn't about crypto. And I wanted to make that distinction because you brought up the crypto thing, Jeff. What people always think crypto, it's not. Crypto is one use case being built on the platform of Web 3.0, which is blockchain. But there are many, Teresa teaches this in the classes that we are doing together, is that it's going to change the world. It's not just changing the financials in the crypto and all the stuff going on with that, but it's literally blockchain's going to change the entire world. We're focused right now on the real estate class, properties, title, mortgage, everything having to do with that. But the thing people are behind on or don't even realize is happening behind the scenes because of where Teresa's relationships are with NAR and the SEC. This is happening on an institutional level, a government level. It's coming down to Teresa through the government and through the institutions to do this. So I just want to make that clarification so people can not think crypto when they think about this. Crypto is one piece of it, and yes, NFTs will be used to record on the blockchain a property, but we need to think bigger. We want people to think bigger.
That's awesome. Thank you. And there's a couple questions over on Facebook that we will address. I think it was Celine that asked, how do you participate? We will put a link. Actually, Teresa already put a link here in the chat and Zoom. Jake, if you can take that link and throw it over on Facebook as well, I'd appreciate it. So there is a place that you're going to be able to go and learn about this. And in conjunction with LCA, there's a discount that you receive as an LCAer. So, okay, let's continue this conversation. There's actually another question real quick in the Q&A that going back to title that says, doesn't this kill the title insurance platform? I think that's going back to that conversation. Anybody want to take that?
Absolutely. It does not kill title. Nope. So when we launched this, every title company in 2018 came poking around what is this? Because they were so afraid of blockchain, because that's every white paper says this is going to kill title insurance. And just like what I previously said is that a spreadsheet is not an insurance product. An insurance product has to be licensed in all 50 states, have incredible amounts of due diligence. They have to have massive, millions and millions of dollars of reserves in order to issue title insurance. So this actually oddly enough, in all my studies and conversations with the largest title insurance companies in the world and coaching them on what blockchain is that this creates more need for insurance, because now you're going to have all these different ledgers that are floating around the internet. And so it's actually the title insurance for the home. And then if you're going to do it right, there has to be another insurance product for whatever is being stated on the internet on Web 3.0. So it's really interesting that it's caused even greater need, because there can be many different ledgers. How do you make sure the one that you're looking at is actually really the title? So it's more good data, but then there have to be more protocols to make sure that that data is safe. And that's what we're going for here.
And Jeff, the other thing to keep in mind is I was in Silicon Valley working in infrastructure for Internet 1.0. Think about how long it took the local county recorders to get the ability to search for property records on websites. They tend to be way behind the curve. There's more than 2,000 counties, and they're not going to have things in the blockchain. You still have to record at the local county office. So that'll be the long pole lagging item in all of this. So you'll see things being recorded in the blockchain, but the deed and the other recorded documents are still going to go into the county for the foreseeable future, right? They're going to be the last to adopt blockchain.
Got it. So as it relates, so right now, if I am a real estate agent and I have a seller that has their house listed for sale in the traditional MLS, right? And a buyer comes and says, I want to buy your home, but I want to buy it with crypto. They can't just sell it without it having certain measures as NFT, blockchain. Can you explain that? Because I think that's really important for agents to understand. And Sheila, keep bringing us back. I'm totally okay with that, because we do need to keep this simplified. But I think that's one of the questions I think somebody's thinking right now is, what if I have a house and it's on the MLS and somebody wants to come and buy it? And can they?
Yeah, so I'll tackle this one. I've been doing this since 2018. So I got like the highest level compliance, like 4 levels of compliance to move unlimited amounts of crypto into real estate. And it's really not a sexy process. I think there's a lot of it's very fuzzy on how it happens. And here's why it's critical that agents understand this process. Never before in the history of our jobs did we have to follow FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Division of the US Treasury, on anti-money laundering and know your customer laws so that you don't go to jail. Like, I could not be more serious about this topic. That's never fallen on our shoulders as practitioners. So the crypto world, and I do work for family offices, so billion-dollar families, like the ruling class, there are only 80,000 of them, and I consult them about crypto, about blockchain protocols, right? So this is what I hear, is that all the dirty money is getting sucked out through crypto, and what's going to replace it is FedCoin. And we've known that. The federal government has told us that. Certain families are working on exchanges for Fed coins between different countries, right? And so to that question earlier about how soon does everything go on blockchain, I think it's really important that we understand that that's coming. And as soon as Fed coin is released, all of our transactions happen on blockchain. So it's really funny. I was applying for a bank account in 2018 for my company, and no banks were giving out bank accounts to anybody that was blockchain because they couldn't understand it, if it was crypto, if it was money laundering. And this company called Chase Bank, was willing to give me a bank account. And I filled out the app. And then they were like, oh, we're going to put you in touch with the Treasury Department, the head of the Treasury Department for Chase. And I was like, that's supposed to just be part of an application to get a bank account, right? I'm happy-go-lucky, that's cool. And then it just hit me 3 months ago, because other lenders are now asking me this. How do we fund our mortgages through blockchain? This is something that Fannie Mae has been trying to figure out for 3-4 years now. So the second that Fed coin or a stable coin is announced, so if it's Fed coin, it's just going to be from the US government. If it's a stable coin, it's got to be a one-to-one backed crypto. As soon as that winner is announced, we are all doing transactions on blockchain. So this is what Sheila was saying, do I have to know this stuff? Yeah, it's coming for you, and it's coming in every industry. There isn't an industry that's going to be untouched by what happens in Web 3.0. So just want to share that tidbit about what's happening in the space.
somebody, I think it was Vanessa, had a pretty good comment in here. She says that you can't have crypto without blockchain, but you can't have blockchain without crypto. I don't know if she was quoting one of you saying that, but that's perfectly said. Let me ask another question. And so these are coming over from Facebook. So thank you for those of you that are, and if you're here on Zoom and you got questions, throw them in the chat on Facebook. Jake's bringing them over to us. The comment again is from Vanessa. We are placing all offers on our listings into a blockchain, presenting clear, transparent transactions with no finagling. So all parties with seller's permission can be informed when their offers received when presented if a counter is submitted. I think she might just be quoting you there. But there's a question here real quick. Please explain why making a property an NFT makes sense.
Jeremy has a really good analogy about this. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to take this. It's one of my favorite.
What about NFTs just being a file?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you know, it's the transfer of a file. That's all it is. All an NFT is a file. It's a file in a database. So instead of filing away in a SQL database, now it's a file that's on a public ledger. It's on blockchain, and you can transfer it. So you know, that's what it is. It's just a file. Again, NFTs, the whole concept gets glorified. It's a hot topic to talk about, but when you're logical and you look at it from my point of view, it's just a file.
I'd like to add to that too. It's with things such as NFTs, when they're stored on a blockchain, they are not destructible. You know, literally you have a permanent record of that transaction, everything involved in that transaction, and everything involved in the property dealing with it. That's going to be there for a lifetime. That what happens with real estate, especially in government, you know, agencies, say, for example, New Orleans, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. We had a really bad hurricane called Hurricane Katrina. City Hall got flooded. Guess what? It was lost. Property records, city records, tax records, everything. This right here single-handedly stops that over the course of time. And it does take time to grow, there's no doubt, but when all that data is put onto the blockchain, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, so the question is, why do I want to have my property as an NFT? This starts the ledger. This starts the history of that piece of property. And Fannie and Freddie are wanting this. They have been wanting this for years. This helps accelerate the underwriting process for going through a purchase and getting a mortgage. So this is live. This is called the Certified Listing Protocol. We follow Fannie and Freddie's guidelines on this. So this is an example of a property's data being tokenized. The identifier is what ties us back to that single property. That's that first number up there. And then these are the records that Fannie and Freddie are requesting. So a couple of things here. The certified listing includes the floor plan of the property, which is the first step to a digital appraisal. Digital appraisals went live about 2.5, 3 months ago. And starting on July 17th, it becomes the hybrid desktop digital appraisal. So what that does, we're doing a few things here. We're contracting the days on the market. We're shortening the escrow period because we have these data sets ready to go at the time of the listing. So during those 2 weeks pre-listing, you can now do all your homework about this property, get the whole property cleaned up going into the listing. And then as soon as you find that winning buyer, because it's so competitive, right? Then that person flies through escrow. Just like we pre-underwrite the human, now we pre-underwrite the asset and we put all of this on blockchain. So here's a record that went on blockchain, and then we do the whole title as well. Everything gets processed. We make sure that the title summary is completely clean, and then it goes onto blockchain, and you're ready to share this with all the parties, especially the lender. So this is, it's to, Consortia changed its like line of sight. In the very beginning, I promised to put the agent in the middle of the transaction. And I thought that was the only focus, right? To like put our flag in the ground as practitioners. And then I got years of coaching from Alan Dalton, the former CEO of Realtor.com. And he said, Teresa, he's like, dummy, it's not about the practitioner, it's about the consumer. And like, finally it sunk in, all of this has to be done for the benefit of the consumer. We put that consumer back in the middle of this process and focus on them. What's good for them is good for us as practitioners. So if we can help them go through escrow faster, then we win by default as well. What I think is critical about this process, as we see every day in the Wall Street Journal, right, in the rates, mortgage rates keep going up. The cost of locking a loan is expensive to the lender. Who pays for that? The consumer does. So if we can shorten those days on the market, especially when interest rates keep going up, I've been doing loans where I can barely get my consumer closed and able to afford that home based on their monthly debt to income ratio. Like they are just barely getting into that loan right now, which is terrifying and it's gut wrenching as a practitioner. So this procedure, this process that Fannie and Freddie are backing, this is huge for the benefit of the consumer. And this is all enabled by blockchain. So this is the reason, one of the many reasons to be hopping onto blockchain right now.
I mean, you guys just gave it two compelling reasons. One, you know, the traditional, like New Orleans, the New Orleans analogy, I mean, which is real, right? Things are lost. But what companies aren't going to want this safer, you know, vehicle or mechanism to transact? And if it makes it faster, you know, the thing that kind of comes to mind for me though is this all just a continued evolution of the replacement of humans, AKA real estate agents?
So as running 3 NAR portfolio companies, there's a reason why I get that honor and privilege of doing that. And that's because the idea here is to future-proof our value add to the industry. And so we have to be able to be the stewards of this technology and evolve quickly. I've done all I can by putting that flag in the ground 4 years ago. Now it's a matter of practitioners who say, they raise their hand and say, yes, I want to be part of this change. Otherwise, it will leave you behind if you're not ready to adapt to the changes in the industry. So the practitioner now has to understand what's coming and really be quarterbacking, right? You have to be the Tom Brady of the industry. You have to say, I see all these moving pieces. I'm going to pull them together and make it easy for my customer to understand what needs to happen next in the transaction. And yeah, I think that things are going to move through faster. And if things are moving through faster, we have to be there for the customer. The customer is like lost. I have customers who can barely pull down PDF bank statements. They're like, what are you talking about? They're like, can't I just go to my bank and get it printed out? Like still have customers saying that. And I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm in Silicon Valley, right? So I think the good agents, the best agents, the ones who are on this call, who are enriching themselves and investing in themselves, they're going to be fine as all of these changes happen.
A question from Nathan: how do clients protect their property from someone else adding their property to the blockchain before someone else?
So at Consortia, we go through 3 levels of authenticating that someone is who they say they are and that they have legal rights to a property. And we do the best that we can for that. Again, it's not, at this stage, it's not the legal ownership of the property because county title recorders are not recording to blockchain. So and this is evolving, right? As those counties start to click on, then we are going to have to work more closely with them. I will say this, our partners in this are the Blackstone portfolio of companies. So Blackstone is the largest private equity firm in the world. If you added up all the other private equity firms, they would not even total what Blackstone equals. And they're our business partners. Consortia never did a raise, so we're completely Switzerland, but we work with them. And because Blackstone is who they are, they've taught us, like the head general counsel is like Teresa, it's called SOC 2 audit protocols. So what that means is any company that's publicly traded has to follow these certain protocols of standard of compliance, standard of care. So that's what we adopt at Consortia. So we affectionately say we are the sober moment in blockchain. We are the grown-up version because we're following all kinds of laws, everything from consumer protection all the way through SEC. So we're doing our darndest to make sure that we protect the customer in that regard.
Keith has an interesting statement. Blockchain seems like a terribly inefficient database for real estate records.
Yeah, we wrote 3 entire protocols on blockchain and threw them all away. And now we have the one, like you're telling me, Keith, thank you so much for recognizing that. Yeah, it sucks. Let me tell you, Jeremy is laughing because he's gone through the newest protocol that I wrote. And he's like, oh, this is as far as you could take it, huh? He's like, and we're all like, yes, we're so happy you're here, Jeremy. Yeah, so it is, it's a very cumbersome database. We are private ledger for enhanced efficiency and consumer protection. And so we are always working on making this more efficient. I was on stage at the Mortgage Bankers Association in 2019. Same issue there. How do we run OCR? How do we read documents and standardize them to make them ready for the chain? So this is constantly an evolving topic for us as technologists.
Is it a decentralized network, and who runs the nodes?
We're not there yet. Eventually we will be. What that takes is for every single, and that's what Jeremy's job is, to build those connections in between the different institutions that we're connecting to. And right now there isn't enough security protocol to have a completely decentralized network. That will happen over time. I imagine the next 5 to 10 years, there will be standardization, just like we have, for example, when you go on the internet and you look up properties on Zillow or Redfin, right? I'm naming those names just to get your attention, right? I know those are the dirty names, but we have a way to standardize that data as it pulls through the MLS going out through either the IDX or the RETS feeds or the APIs. The same thing has to happen on blockchain to have blockchain standards. So I co-chair the group for the Real Estate Standards Organization, which was the child of NAR that's now its own separate nonprofit. So we're working on those blockchain standards to bring everyone in the industry together. And then it's our job as to Consortia to work with the lenders and then the title companies to standardize all of that. Because the thing about blockchain is it's a ledger, right? And it's permanent. So these APIs have to all talk to each other in a way that communicates. And let me tell you, building a platform like that on something that's immutable and having to future-proof it is quite a nightmare, as Jeremy is nodding his head. Yeah. So these are all things that we're working on. And as several different industries, we're trying to work together to figure this out.
So as an introductory webinar to this conversation, where, other than the obvious, and I've already mentioned that there is a link, it's in the chat, it should be in the messenger chat and Facebook, and we will also continue to share it. There is a place to go get educated and learn. Beyond that, though, let's just give them a very primitive kind of mindset answer to this. Like, what's next? First of all, let me ask this question. And I realize, because I deal with this in this world, is that most people just kind of brush it aside. Like, yeah, it's not coming. Oh, it's owned by China. It'll never take hold. It's blah, blah. I go on and on and on with all of the different objections we get about social. And here we are, right? That's why I'm a believer that whether I understand this or not, this is coming. And so for all of the naysayers, as it relates to how fast this is going to come into our world, like what do I need to prepare myself for? Do I need to go out and get my home tokenized and to become an NFT? What are the next steps? What do we need to be doing as a real estate world to prepare for this?
I would say, yeah, like you said, there's the link for training. I would say that you go through training so you can understand and familiarize yourself with these terms. And like what Sheila says all the time is, if you're a practitioner, you need to know what is legal and how to future-proof your business. You have to make sure that you don't accidentally steer into the SEC lane, that you're making sure that you're following all the laws, because an oopsie daisy doesn't just mean like a slap on the hand. A lot of people in Silicon Valley, quite honestly, don't care about these rules because they're not licensed as practitioners. So if something happens to them, they have no risk. And in fact, as Kevin has researched this, if they get slapped by the SEC, they just go, whatever, that's fine. I'll just start a new company tomorrow. I'll just fold this one and go start the next one. So I'd ask the practitioner, if you got a slap on the wrist from the SEC, and all of a sudden your broker, your agent, or your NMLS license gets pulled, is that a problem for you? It's a problem for me. And I'm licensed as an investment banker as well. So I know this better than anyone, is I have to follow all those SEC rules so that I don't screw up all of my other licenses, which are my bread and butter. And I think that probably rings true with the people on this call. So, and then I would say after that, then you mint your practitioner non-fungible token, and then you mint your property token as well. And then you can like put your toe in the water and be like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable with this. And then the next listing that you have, you start to do the underwriting and put that on blockchain. So I think it's a process, right? Don't feel like you have to do all of it right now, but just start to educate yourself and go through the process.
I'm curious as to how many of these conversations are going to start coming up in listing presentations. You know, as an agent, especially if you're going up against multiple agents, which in a lot of cases you are, how much differentiation will something like this play into a role of, hey, I have an advanced knowledge of something that might come into play here that the standard agent doesn't.
And that's a great thing, Jeff, is that we not only are you getting access to the course, but you're also getting access to the community where you can ask those questions to us live on a daily basis. So we're here to help you out through the process of those questions, because that's all going to happen. This is evolving really quickly. And that's why we decided as a company to start a community that you guys can come into and ask those questions of us through the entire process.
Yeah. In other words, you can wait each month for me to interview these guys, or you can get out ahead of it right now. It's up to you. I think it's still early. It's still very early, but just grasping it and reading about it and learning about it and understanding what these terms mean. Vanessa has a question on Facebook: is Consortia running on Ethereum? And also, what do you feel about the acronyms POW and versus POS?
So yeah, that's proof of work versus proof of stake, and Ethereum. So the very first protocol that we built was on Ethereum, and then a Chinese company launched an ICO, and that caused the cost per transaction on Ethereum to go from 2 cents to 70 cents. And as a business owner, I cannot build a business if my cost of goods and business services spikes by that kind of a percentage. So we put that away, and that was a big issue for the Ethereum crowd. So one of the co-founders of Ethereum, his name is Grant Hummer. We're standing on the corner in the financial district, my co-founder and I, and we're like, Grant, when is there supposed to be a solution for public chain and Ethereum? And he goes, oh, they're working on it. It'll be out in 2020. It's 2022, and there still is no truly scalable way to be. And this is big for me, is public versus private. So the questions about proof of work versus proof of stake, those are more for the public chains. And this is where I put on my multiple licensed hats. And I say, okay, how private is our private customer information? Because for me, it's all about protecting that consumer. We're still very responsible. Most of this data deals only with the house. And so there aren't as many consumer protection rules around the house versus PII, which is personal data. But still, we have to be very cognizant of what we're sharing over the internet. And so for me, the public ledgers don't offer the level of security that private does. Here's why: because these are tokens, right? And if these floated from our site into a wallet and then floated into another public platform, all of the royalties, all of the copyright, all of the information could be wiped clean, all of those rules. There's not enough enforcement yet of these protocols on like the greater blockchain networks. So for that reason, we stayed private. So POW versus proof of stake, those don't really have an impact on us at the near future. As things progress in the space of blockchain, yeah, perhaps we take a look at what is really secure in the public networks. That's just an ongoing conversation.
Will there be, so obviously you guys represent Consortia. What makes that different from, are there other options out there in the world that they can go get this quote unquote education and certification, whatever you want to call it? And what makes you guys different?
Sheila, you want that one?
Sure. So I think it goes down to when you look at it, you have to, who you surround yourself with matters, right? We all know that. And you want to be with the people who are leading the pack, who have the most compliant is a huge word now for us. So think about this, like she mentioned before, Jeff, when real estate was originally created, we did not fall under the classification of the SEC. We were set apart as a separate category to be able to function in homes based on state guidelines and national guidelines under NAR. Well, with the introduction of digital assets, crypto, NFTs, selling homes in the ways we're talking about, or especially fractionalization of real estate in the commercial space, like what Kevin was referring to. All of that now, I know, I'm sorry, beat it, I'm at a conference, sorry about that. It falls under the SEC guidelines. So imagine taking the whole real estate class and layering it under the SEC. That's what you need to understand. You no longer will be able to operate the way you've operated in the past. You'll no longer be able to do transactions the way you've done in the past, because now your job is literally going to be following the SEC guidelines. And that's the biggest part of TRISA. TRISA is the only one in America, in the world currently, who has a patent pending with the government to bring all real estate in North America onto the blockchain. She is the only one currently that is SEC compliant, RESPA compliant. She is the NAR chosen blockchain expert. And she also, through the coursework, has already gotten the nod to bring this coursework to NAR through ePro as the certification for blockchain. So there is no one else. There are other people out there, to be very honest with you, Jeff. If you look up Google online, there are people touting certifications or touting NFT sales. But if you look at what they're doing, there are very specific questions. And I keep telling Teresa, we need to do a competition class kind of thing, because it's not about competition. What it is about is legality and protection for you as an agent practitioner, because people don't realize if you do the wrong thing, you're going to jail. The SEC just fined a company $100 million because they weren't following the rules. And so if I ask you with your brokerage, could you afford to pay the SEC $100 million fine? Would you be able to stay in business? This is not playing. You can't kind of get around the SEC. So we have to think of our jobs and our industry in a completely different way now, because now the government's involved. Now the government's going to be regulating things. And even if you make a mistake today, the SEC isn't the kind of company that says, oh, you made a mistake last month, I'm going to forgive that. No. The SEC is going to go back to everyone that sold a home as an NFT or sold a home with digital assets and fine or put in jail every single person has not done it compliantly. That's the number one reason why you need to follow Teresa.
Teresa, you're officially my hero.
I don't know who Sheila keeps talking about. That person sounds wonderful. I can't wait to meet her.
So obviously we're getting long on time, and we're going to continue to do this in perpetuity as long as you guys want to continue to come on to LabCoats. But obviously we've told the audience, obviously go check more of this out, or just be paying attention to our schedule and tune in every month. What would any of you want to say in closing from this just first very introductory webinar that kind of bounced all over the place? And I want to say this, first of all, thank you, because clearly not all of our webinars get as much, questions, interaction as we've gotten today, which tells you. And then there's probably a very large discrepancy of understanding. I think more people, very basic, and clearly some of you have an understanding of this because you're asking some questions that I didn't even know what the hell you were asking. I just posed them. And so I appreciate that. And so make sure if you have questions you want us or you want me to ask, or you want to ask these guys, first of all, what do you have to say in closing? Beyond the website that we shared, is there a place that anybody can connect with you guys? And then see, maybe we should start lining up what we're going to talk about on the next webinar. So first of all, closing.
I'll kick this off. I would say, I think probably a lot of these topics are like, whoa, what the heck does all that mean? And some people ask me like, or they say to me, I'm so late getting here. And I'd say, not at all. The fact that you're on this LCA podcast now, you're just in time. Like, we're having this conversation together. We're building this together. We built the community. We switched our platforms at the last minute from just speaking at the, everyone's like, yeah, that was painful. That was last week. At the last minute, we pulled it from Teachable and we put it on Mighty Networks because it was so critical for us to have a conversation. And I say, for me, switching, I wouldn't even touch this project for 2 years. And when I decided to dust it off, when like the head general counsels of the largest companies in the country were like, Teresa, can we do this thing? I was like, yeah, only if it's a we conversation, because this is no longer about just Consortia. It's not about me as this inventor. This is about us as an industry. So I'd say the fact that you're here, you're right on time. You're not late. So what? These things are confusing. They're confusing to me. Like I still have to Google stuff, right? So I would say like, you're here now. Let's do this together. Participate in the training, talk to us, ask us questions, help us make it better. So you're right on time.
Love it. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that for anybody on here, to echo what Teresa said, we're just getting started, right? We're going to get into lots and lots of practical and tactical things so that when your clients are coming to you, that's what you're going to start to learn the foundation of in the training. But you want to be able to handle those questions because we're already hearing stories of people coming to real estate agents and they're on their 10th or 12th practitioner and they just want to do some basic things. Maybe they do have crypto they want to use for a down payment. Maybe they want to understand if they want to accept crypto for the purchase of their home, or maybe they buy short-term rentals and they're like, I see this company out here doing this fractionalization of the real estate. How do I do that? You don't want to be a practitioner that says, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't help you. Let me go check. You want to understand, because otherwise it's like they're speaking Mandarin Chinese to you. And it'll be like the people we're running across where they have to get to 10, 12, or 15 agents before they find somebody they can speak conversantly with them. And we really are committed to LCA to get you from the point where you get through the training all the way to the point where you're conversant in this and you're going to close more business.
That's a great summary, and you hit it on the head. Anyone else want to add anything else to the closing?
Yeah, so I saw a question come up and asking about centralization and decentralization. How come all this data isn't just listed in an AWS database? And I want to say, Consortia is a little bit of both. All these files, they're already stored in SQL databases, in silos that these companies own the data, right? And they have IDX feeds and API feeds into this stuff. What we're doing by converting the data into NFTs, it makes it easily accessible and it makes it easily shareable. So, I feel like institution will have just easy access to all these files, and it's not really changing things in the way that they're done traditionally, because all this data is shared anyway. It just makes things easier.
Awesome, thank you. What's the best way to connect with you guys?
Anthony, marketing guy, would you like to?
Yeah. Everything. Well, first things by joining the community, obviously, it's the best way to communicate and talk with us. We are on Facebook. If you look at Consortia, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're moving into our TikTok and all pretty soon too, but pretty much any social channels right now, you can reach out to us. But again, I want to reiterate, the best way to communicate with us guys is through our community. You think about the conversation you just had with someone like Teresa. Could you imagine, for the cost of this entry right now, not only do you get an amazing course, but also you're going to get to have a conversation with her. One thing I tell you about Teresa, and I'm talking, she don't like when we talk highly of her, we're going to do it anyway. She works. I'm sitting here going through the community as everybody's kind of signing in and going through it, and literally she's answering every question. And I know, when you get to a few thousand followers, obviously it's going to be a little different. So time is of the essence too right now, because right now this community has not grown much. But imagine being able to ask someone like Teresa or getting with the whole Consortia team. The community is the best way, but you can reach out on all socials. We're available on all socials.
I love it. Under what? How would they find you? Just
Consortia, RE Consortia. I'll post it in here too.
Awesome. Sheila.
And keep in mind that this is brand new, everybody. So as far as being late to the party, we literally just released this coursework in this community last week. Yes. So Teresa has been speaking on is all over the place. She spoke 4 times at Inman at this last time. So she is a very desired speaker all over the place on many different platforms, from the banking side to the real estate side. So you literally are getting a chance to chat with her in our community and getting a chance to learn from someone who's looked at as, and I'm going to say this, she may not want me to say this, but I'm going to say this, she literally got a call from the Vatican. So when you guys got to understand the level of confidence, the level of authority that Teresa has in this space, that she is the one that everyone is looking at literally in the government and in the world. She's had calls from Spain, Dubai, Canada. Countries are calling her to help them. So you're going to have access to her and to her training. And we're going to continue to add more training, just so you know. We're in the process of creating more coursework to add into the group for you guys so that we can continue to add value. Because for us, it's 2 parts. Number 1, protecting our industry and protecting you and your job as a functioning agent, as well as protecting the consumer. So it is important for all of us on this call. We are all practitioners. We are all working with Teresa from the real estate space. So we all have a vested interest to make sure we're protecting our industry.
Love it. I love it. This has been fantastic. Thank you all for being on today. Obviously, the recording will be over on Facebook, probably also on our YouTube channel. And there is the link. So if you didn't get it in the chat, it will also be over in the Facebook link or in the Facebook video, which I will be sharing to the group as well, and probably sharing multiple places. Anthony, I'm just glad that you brought up a term that I really understand. That's TikTok. So thank you for doing that, because it finally brought me to some normalcy here. And I'm excited to hear that you guys are going to be executing a strategy there, because now you're speaking my language. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. This is fantastic. I look forward to the next one, and hopefully more of you. Thank you all for being on. You're taking a step in a direction that very few are doing. And so we applaud you for that. And let's continue to educate our community about all this good stuff.
You're amazing. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you to the LCA community. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
See you next time.
Bye.